So, of course, this weekend it's the Keitech round, or well, this weekend would have been the Keitech round if it wasn't for COVID. And I've got Simon Marchant here, who's one of Keitech's pro anglers, knows the product really well and has been a great supporter of ABT for the last few years. And Simon, I can see one of those big checks in the background there, mate. Must take pride of place in your fishing room.
Well, it does, especially when it's one with a Keitech lure. So, got to have it out there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, mate. And look, this weekend we would have been out at Glenbourne. You've done the forecast for what it's going to be tomorrow, mate. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Nasty.
Yeah, it's anywhere between 5 and 13 degrees. 13 degrees the top. 5 is obviously the bottom. But at the moment, right here, and I'm in near Maitland, so not too far away, probably 45 minutes from the dam, and you're looking at 31-kilometre-an-hour gusts at the moment.
Yeah, so for those guys that like going out there having a bit of a camp, they'd be huddled around the fires, wouldn't they, mate? It'd be pretty cool.
You'd have your beanie on,
and there possibly would be an alcoholic beverage or two to warm the bones.
Well, if you're a bream fisherman, apparently you wear Ugg boots, but I don't know.
I think bass fishermen don't wear Ugg boots because they don't like walking the dirt onto the carpet.
Yeah, maybe.
They're very precious about the carpet, those bass guys.
We are, yeah.
Mate, run us through this time of year. I want you to run us through the cycle of what happens in the lake. Like Glenbourne at the moment, I was speaking to Nick Price a little bit earlier. Lake's at about 40%, pretty stable. And of course, they're in a lake, they can't get to breed. Just tell us what's going through the fish's mind at the moment and how they're behaving.
Well, in the natural environment, of course, they've got to go down to saline water. Like they've got to go towards more salt water to spawn. Everyone knows that bass can't, spawn in fresh water. But the natural instinct's still there to travel and, do their business. So traditionally, I think what the fish do is try and feed up this time of year and not being a lot of flying insects around. Because when you think about the two largest, I suppose, food sources for a bass would be surface, a bug, beetle, cicada, for instance, or yabbies or, crawfish. Yep. So if you're looking at that, crawfish at the moment in hibernation, not a lot of flying insects around. So matching the hatch with things like, swing impacts, Keitech swing impacts, that's what they're eating. So they're going to feed up on that sort of thing before they go off and, do their business, so to speak.
Well, take us through how you'd rig up one of these Keitechs for fishing this weekend. Say you were getting ready for the tournament. What sort of outfit, what sort of rig, what sort of jig heads? Run us through the Keitech system.
Okay, so the Keitech system really is, and like the number one bait for me, I believe, in St. Clair and Glenbourne is a little 2-inch Keitech swing impact, just like that.
Yep.
Now, I'd match that with like a number 2 hook, so a very small hook. So I think the main thing is when you're using plastics, regardless of what brand they are, you've got to match the hook with the size of the bait. I'd be using a 1/8 or a 1/6 jig head, depending. Even this really bad windy conditions, I might even go to a 1/4 ounce against that wind at the moment that we've got. Obviously, I use fluorocarbon 6 to 8 pound. If it's in a really nasty place, I might go 10, but usually 6 or 8 gets me out of trouble. A rod and half length of fluorocarbon, 8 to 10 pound braid, and a small reel. This is the one that this is the little magnesium. That's the one I won the Hawkesbury round on, and again using a 2-inch Keitech plastic as like a small prawn imitation, and that was in the AU colour. That's colour there. But
that's awesome, mate. Tell us about the retrieve though. If someone's and let's face it, from very near in time in the future, you're going to be able to travel around New South Wales and go up to Glenbourne and camp for a weekend, which I think a lot of people are really looking forward to. Take us through what sort of country you're fishing it in, and then what sort of retrieve, because I know it's a very sort of subtle retrieve you guys use for these Glenbourne bass.
Well, there's a number of things that go through my mind. First of all is lightweight. I suppose as light as you can to get that flutter and that natural hang in the air. You can see how flexible these are. So the tails really wag. So with this, first of all, I will go for a cast close to the structure and just let it drop on the drop. Sometimes you'll just get it straight on the drop, especially when they're holding tight the structure. Yep. Other than that, it'll be a hop and a shake on the way down. But you need to let that, in my mind, let that plastic fall. Okay,
Yep.
you need to make contact with the bottom, hop it up, and let it fall again.
Now,
But
when you're talking
really,
structure, are you talking about trees or rocks or
well,
steep
steep
bank?
rock points, yeah. If you can
Yep.
find a steep rock point, sometimes this time of year, we all know that they're coming out of the deeper water, right? It's cooler. They're up there looking for those smelts, gudgeons. So they're up into the weed bed areas.
Yep.
So they are close to the edge. So what I prefer to do, what I like to do, is go to really steep rock wall faces, cast really tight, and just let that and shake it on the drop, and maybe a 1/8, and just see if they're there, because sometimes there's not a lot of cover for them. So first thing in the morning they'll be there. When the sun comes up, they're the areas where I discount due to the fact there's not a lot of cover for them, not a lot of shade and all that sort of stuff. So then I would work towards trees, wheat beds, points, that sort of thing.
So how do you go fishing, back in the old days of AFC, and we've seen a lot of AFC episodes over the course of the ABT Lockdown Live, a lot of the guys like fishing plastics really, really close to the trees. Now, they've often done that with a jig head, which has been sort of buried back into the plastic. How do these small Keitechs go from a snag-proof point of view?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I've got a large leadless hook. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yep.
And I've got a really large swing impact. I think that's like a 3.8-inch swing impact. Now, they've got actually grooves in it. You won't be able to see them.
Yep, I can see them.
They've got grooves in them that you can just pop in, and then you can sit that hook in. And if you can imagine, I better do it back to front so you guys can see. So if you can imagine, that sort of presentation there, weedless, right? Great presentation. And yeah, you can also do that with the little swing impacts, and they've also got little belly grooves and a little, right?
That's right, they do too. So you make sure that the very tip of that point is just occluded just underneath the plastic to stop it grabbing into the tree.
Absolutely. Like they call it Texas rigging or something, I think.
Yeah.
It's just so it doesn't, so you run your finger over, but as soon as it's crushed by a fish, it exposes that hook and away you go. So
it's awesome, mate. The Keitechs seem to be a very technical and a very finesse plastic from Japan, and they've been there for a long time. And and I know that a lot of the brim guys as well as the bass guys are starting to appreciate, how soft they are, how much the fish actually like eating them. What proportion of the field do you think actually throws the Keitechs now? It'd have to be a majority, wouldn't it?
It would have to be a majority. Yeah, for quite some time ago, I remember Baden. I was talking to Baden many years ago. Who looks after Keitech, and he was telling me about them. And then, once I swam them, because just we talked about the drop, the shake on the drop, but the slow roll, just a slow roll. Now, children can do a slow roll, and they just look so good. They flap about. They're great, and the range of colours is there. When I have a look at, for instance, I don't know if you can see that one. That's the chartreuse green pumpkin. That's got UV. So I'll use that in really dark, dirty water areas.
Yep.
Whereas I'll use something like this electric shad, which is more natural, and it's got a bit of a sparkle to it.
Yeah.
That there, easy shiner, will be great with the sun out. So different things like that. You've got the swing impacts. Now you watch how soft that is.
Yeah.
Fantastic slow rolling bait. And not to say, you mentioned jigs and bits and pieces like that, but things like this one here, which is the easy flapper, I use that there. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I use that as a jig trailer.
Yes.
And if I'm really thinking the fish don't want the big jigs, I'll use a small jig, and I'll use this one here. That's the Spider, the Keitech Spider, and that also. He'll stand up and flutter his little arms about. He's fantastic. In like a finesse sort of approach to.
Yeah, look, those spider jigs are really interesting. You can actually just rig them on a jig head, and they fish just like a jig, don't they?
That's it.
Yep. and a bit cheaper.
Oh, very cheap. Yeah, very cheap. And yeah, they're a great quality. Like I'm so proud to represent Keitech because fantastic quality. And even if I wasn't sponsored by them, I'd have as many as I got now, which is a couple hundred packets, believe me. So
that's awesome, mate. Now, I've got one more question for you before we leave you tonight on ABT Lockdown Live. If you had to just pick one Keitech out of your kit to fish this weekend at the Keitech Glenbourne Challenge, which one would it be? If you could just take one pack of plastics Which ones are going to be? Pull it out of your kit there.
Well, it would be the 2-inch Easy Shiner in the chartreuse green pumpkin.
Yep.
That's what it would be. Now, the only reason I'm thinking is we've got a little bit of rain at the moment.
Yep.
So we had about 10 mils of rain yesterday.
Yep.
So I'm thinking right up the back in that shallow water. So I know bream fishing would want to understand when you get flow of water, that sort of, that's where the fish will head to, because they can sit there and let the food come to them. So I would get right up the back into some of that little discoloured dirty water, and I'd chuck those. Due to the fact we've got that UV, high vis, shake, rattle, roll, slow roll, that's what I'd be using. Right up the back of the dam in the dirtier water.
Well, there you go, mate. I definitely got one of those on my shopping list for next time I drop into an ABT-sponsored tackle store, mate. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, mate, and bringing all of that technical expertise to us. It's Baden's pretty lucky to have a pro staff that uses it up here, mate, and he's got the hardware to back it up on the wall, mate. So thank you very much for joining us, Simon.
No hair. I might have some brains, but no hair. But, we're not talking, look, you're talking bream, you're talking flathead, you're talking lots of species. These really big fellas, you got jewfish and you got barra. It's just, and they're just so unbelievable. They just swim themselves. They catch fish.
He's a great sponsor, and he does fish. He does sponsor the bream bass and the barra tournaments nowadays because he knows that his product's good for it. So, Baden, wherever you are, mate, hope you're having a beer tonight and kicking back and watching ABT Lockdown live.
Get them in your tackle box.